If you like my takes on sports, maybe you'll like my takes on movies. I just created a movie review channel. I reviewed The Menu, Glass Onion, and the newest Puss in Boots movie, so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on those, I start off each review without spoilers, so don't worry, you don't have to have seen the movie to watch the review. The link is in the description to that new channel. Had a lot of fun making those videos, so definitely check that out. And anyway, on to your regularly scheduled video. I thought this could be a fun idea for a video, which is I'm going to give my power rankings. It's going to be more of like a tier list, but not of this year, of next year. I thought this could be kind of a fun idea doing it now because I kind of wanted to just give my take on where these teams are at for the future. Now, it's obviously very difficult to say because who knows, who's going to actually leave in free agency, who's going to be signed, what's going to be available, what the draft situation is going to look like. Even now, we don't fully know. So it's always difficult, but that's part of the fun of it. So I'm kind of looking at, future cap space, future draft capital, and also just current talent and what you have now and how that should go for the future. So let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So, okay, the first tier, this is the could be really bad tier. Doesn't mean they will be really bad. Certainly does not. There still is a chance, but these are the tiers of, teams that next year I'm not putting a lot of money on to win the Super Bowl by any means. And we actually have 3 teams that are in a single division on this. First, the Texans, who, of course, the Texans have to be here, right? They've been kind of perennial, could be really bad candidates for a while now. Now, I do think they're actually in a better spot this year than they've been in previous years. They do have some draft capital, which should be good to help them out, but will help them out enough next year? Probably not. I think they're still a couple years away at best here, which I think you've done a good job of kind of, rising from the ashes of where you were, but still I don't know how, what that's going to do for you. The Panthers, another team where, again, when you don't have the quarterback situation, you are in trouble, and I think their offense as a whole, needs some help. Now, they have a solid offensive line foundation there, so you hope that can continue to grow and get better. That would be cool. And, again, maybe some of these receivers could look better. I don't know. You do have some defensive pieces, so maybe putting them in this tier actually could be a little bit harsh. But it's not like they have a ton of it's not like they have a ton of cap space to go out and get stuff, but they have the draft capital now, which they didn't have a ton of last year, so maybe that could help. The Buccaneers, to me, feel like an obvious one, and it could be really bad tier because no cap space, right? They're already not great now, and you could be losing Tom Brady. I mean, that team could be very bad. I think that, the golden era of the Buccaneers football is maybe coming on now. If not, it's going to, this is the last year of it. It seems, unless Brady stays, which is possible, but seems unlikely, whether he retires or goes somewhere else, because he's a free agent and they can't tag him or anything. So that's worth noting. The New Orleans Saints are also in the could be really bad tier. They're already not great. They have no cap space and no draft capital. I mean, this is they're in a tough spot right now. They're probably going to have to rebuild next year, but they don't like to rebuild, so we'll see what they do. We then have the not looking good tier. You could have talked me into bumping up the Panthers into this tier if you want to, but these are the tiers that, okay, there's stuff to like about these rosters. There's stuff to like about where they're at, but there's just too big of issues to really sit here and say that they could be great. Like, the Colts, again, there are things to like about them. Alec Pierce has had a good rookie season. If you hope that maybe the offensive line and Jonathan Taylor can return to form, which could make the offense solid, but you still need a quarterback, which I don't think you have at this point. And the defense has just been so spotty, and it's not getting any younger. So that's a tough spot for the Colts to be in. And the Broncos are another team where it's like, they need Russell Wilson to play better. If Russell Wilson goes back to Russell Wilson, this is actually a team that could be a contender, but they need that to happen. And until I see that happening, it's in the not looking good tier, and it could be not looking good for a while if Russell Wilson really isn't that good. But maybe some receivers would help with that. So that's why I don't have them in just the could be bad tier. Cardinals, another team where not a ton of cap space here for the Cardinals. Again, I pay attention to that stuff, which I think that they have a lot of holes that they need to fill. I think that, listen, Kyler and Hopkins both earned their contracts. They're both very good, but you have to be a little bit more creative now in how you build the rest of your roster and it's difficult to do that. So that's why I think they can do it, but it's just going to take some time. They're not looking good in my opinion. The Steelers, another team where you could talk me into putting them up another tier, because I do like what I've seen from Kenny Pickett. I do. And that's the optimistic thing. Still feel like they're more than 1 year away. Maybe they're not. There's a chance they could be okay, but, you factor in the, I just feel like there's holes in this roster. Another team without a ton of cap space here, so that stuff could be an issue. The Rams, I also have in the not looking good tier. You could have argued could be really bad. I still feel like, you get a couple pieces and there is some hope here. I think the best thing to happen to them was they didn't trade for Brian Burns. That would not have been what this team needs. But their defense still is good. Like, same thing with the Broncos. Why the Broncos I'm not totally out on is their defense is good. The Rams defense has been good this year. And if the offense put them in better spots, it probably would be even better. You have the pieces on defense, and you have Cooper Kupp and Stafford, who are now hurt for this season. But for next season, you still have those pieces. You get another, option or two at wide receiver. Again, offensive line is still not great. Running game still not great. They still have some holes, but there is hope. But yeah, for now, no draft capital, no cap space, and you have those holes. That's why they're not looking good. And the Jaguars, who I also almost put up in the next tier, you could certainly talk me into it if you wanted to. Because listen, there is stuff to like about this Jacksonville team. Lawrence has started playing some really good football. You get Calvin Ridley, which is huge. They just don't have a ton of draft capital. They went out and made all these contracts last year. This is kind of who they're at. They need their young players to start playing better. They'll get another, did I say draft capital? I meant cap space. They don't have a ton of cap space. They do have draft capital. That's kind of the one thing they always have. But, I wasn't a huge fan of the Trayvon Walker pick. That hasn't worked out yet. But he is someone who is a project and could maybe, do well next year. So that's how it could be better. But for now, I just don't see how this team goes from, I can see them going from bad to good, but can they go from good to great? That feels unlikely to me, so I put them in the not looking good tier because I worry about their ceiling is my thing. We then have the depends on what they do tier. These are teams that, either have a lot of draft capital and, if they use that draft capital wisely, could be a very good team in the future, or maybe the other way around. Maybe they have a talented roster, but have to get rid of some pieces, and that's kind of the question marks there. So the Bears, most cap space heading into 2023, so you have that. The issue is they got a lot of positions to fill, so that's why there depends on what they do. I could see things going very well for them if they play this perfectly, but sometimes like last year, I was like, oh, Jacksonville in a great position, and they made a lot of signings that I just didn't love. So maybe the Bears will do that. Maybe it'll do the other way around. I don't know, but so depends on what they do. Same thing with the Falcons. Falcons need a quarterback. They need some other stuff as well. So there is some hope. They're another team with a lot of cap space, which is why they're here. They have draft capital, which is, again, another good thing. So there's hope here for Atlanta. Just what's going to happen? What are you going to do? Giants, another team that they have some money to spend now. Last year, they were in a weird spot where they had no talent and no money, and then they've actually done all right this season, which was a surprise, but I still don't know how much I love their roster, so I think they're going to have to make some improvements, but they have the coaching staff. That's kind of the one thing that you like, is the coaching staff is probably the reason that they're here and why I don't have them lower. The Raiders, another team where, there's just some holes on his roster. There's some good players as well. Like you have Adams, you have Devontae, you have Adams, you have Carr, excuse me. But, what are you going to do to the rest of the roster? Is Josh Jacobs going to stay on the team? Probably. I think you have to at least tag him. I think you have to keep him for at least another year. So that's very fascinating. But again, they're a team with some question marks. The Balls, which is the Washington football team, they are a team that, really it comes down to the quarterback, right? I don't think Taylor Heineke is the guy. I just don't. I think that the real reason that they've been winning games with Heineke is their defense has just looked way better when he's been out there. Maybe that's correlated. Probably isn't, but maybe it is. And then I think they're running the ball more effectively with Heineke there, or just more frequently. I mean, they're running the ball way more when Heineke's been out there than when Wentz was out there. To me, that's the biggest reason they've been winning. But I think they have a really good roster around the quarterback position. And if they can do the right thing and find a way to get even like if they can get a Jimmy Garoppolo, this team looks like it could be in pretty good shape. Granted, I thought Carson Wentz could kind of be that guy, and he wasn't. But, maybe get someone who's a lot cheaper. That could also be a benefit there. Because if you get rid of Wentz's contract, that helps you get some money. The Packers are here, which, again, The reason the Packers are here, yes, their defense has been really bad this season, weirdly. I still feel like that could bounce back potentially with a new defensive coordinator. And if it does, they could be in good shape. But again, will they get a new defensive coordinator? You have, you're in a spot with your offense right here where there's still some holes. They still don't have a great receiving core, even with Watson playing well. So that's still not a spectacular situation. The offensive line still has some issues, but you got Aaron Rodgers. You got some hope. If you could just put the right talent around him, don't screw up like you did this last offseason, which I think we can say at this point was just an absolute error what they did. But if you can fix that error, things could be better. You also have the Chargers here, the last team on this list, a team who actually does not have a ton of does not have a ton of cap space, and that's kind of why there it depends on what they do, because it's what do you do to clear up some cap space? Do you just restructure, which you could do, or do you get rid of, do you get rid of Khalil Mack, who, there'd be no dead money, but he's played well. I don't think you want to get rid of him at this point. So what do you do in this spot if you're the Chargers? I really don't know. I don't know what the game plan is for the Chargers, but you have Justin Herbert, you have a good receiving core when healthy, so maybe the real hope is you just get healthy. That's the main thing. And then you don't have to make massive moves this offseason to clear up the cap space. But they have some decisions to make, so we'll see what they do. Now we have the should be good tier, and we have a couple teams that are already either in a playoff spot or fighting for a playoff spot, like the Patriots and Seahawks, both fighting for a playoff spot now. But you look at them, Patriots have the 4th most cap space heading into the 2023 season, and the Seahawks the 5th most. So those are two teams that are already pretty good, and part of it is they're not paying a ton at the quarterback position. So that's definitely interesting there, especially for Seattle with the Geno Smith situation. Of course, they will have to give Geno Smith some money. They will give Geno Smith some money, but they still have $46 million in cap space even after that. So, okay, whatever you give him, I'm expecting, I don't know, would like a $20 million deal make sense? That's kind of what we saw with Ryan Tannehill when he first got it. Quarterbacks get these crazy high contracts, so what's to say? But still, $46 million, he's not getting all of that, right? You're going to still have some cap space left over, and with all the young players who can get better, I still think they should be good. The Ravens, I have here, the only reason they're not a contender, in my opinion, is what are you going to do for Lamar? You got to do the right thing. I think they will. I think they're going to keep Lamar. I think this team is going to be roughly the same, so they should be good, but there is still that question mark. I have the Lions here. Yes, I do have the Detroit Lions here in this spot. I think they should be good because they're already 11th in cap space, and you can get out of Jared Goff's contract, which whether they do or don't keep Jared Goff on the roster next year, he's not getting paid what he's been getting paid. They're going to make some sort of, pay cut, certainly. It could be like a Jimmy Garoppolo situation where Garoppolo takes less money but knows that he's going to get cut if he doesn't, so that's why he does it. I can see a scenario like that happening. So you got some cap space coming in. Your offense already looks great. You're going to add Jameson Williams at the end of this season. He'll be ready for next year, hopefully with a full training camp and everything. That should be electric. You can get a new quarterback if you want to, or you can keep Goff at a lower price tag, whichever you want to do. Your young players should be better. I mean, at this point, expectations are there for the Lions. We said this is going to be kind of a 3-year rebuild. This is year 2. Everything's been going according to plan. Next year, got to start doing well. The Cowboys are here. I mean, they should be about the same team as they've been. I don't see why there should be any massive differences from this year to last year. They're about what they're at. No big free agents that they're going to be losing. No big free agents they'll be able to sign. They kind of have no cap space, but they're not negative cap space either. So yeah, should be about where they are right now. So maybe they should even be a contender, but I'll have them in the should be good tier. You also have the Browns, who they should be good. I mean, you're getting Watson back. Next week actually. So there you go. Should be a good competitive football team. Their defense still sucks. I don't know what's going on there. They're going to have to figure some stuff out there. I don't get why that's been such an issue for them. But even without that, they still should be at least good with Watson. You have the Dolphins, who are another team who will be about where they're at now. There's not a huge difference this year from, I don't see why there'd be a huge swing, but, they should still be pretty good and be about the same, which is good. You have the Vikings, who are a team who is -11 in cap space right now. So maybe some decisions to make. I could see them getting a little bit worse. And same thing with the Dolphins. They're negative cap space as well. So I could see some scenarios where they have to lose a little bit, both those two teams. But I think they're good enough that they'll be okay, even if they lose a little bit. The Titans are always good. They have no cap space, whatever. They figure they could have no talent. They'll still be good. They're weird. The Jets are the other team who, not a ton of cap space, a little bit, $9 million right there. I mean, they have to figure out the quarterback position. They do, but they haven't figured it out now, and they're still winning football games. So I see no reason why they wouldn't be good next year, and hopefully they could be even better if they can either, find a good quarterback on the roster or find one who's not on the roster. Finally, yes, I just have 5 contenders here. I have the Bengals, who are a contender because they already have such a good roster, and they're 6th most cap space heading into this next season. They have over $44 million to spend in cap space this offseason, so they already are in a pretty good spot. They already have a pretty good roster, and you can improve upon it next year. So kind of goes to show, hey, just because you had a ton of cap space last year, you didn't have to spend all of it, and they chose not to, and now they're in a great spot for the future with the Joe Burrow rookie contract. Things are going well. The Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. Like, they're Patrick Mahomes, they're a contender. Same thing with the Eagles, kind of they're a contender right now. They should have a similar roster next year. I don't see why they would be in too much of trouble. So, I have the Eagles here, who they have $5 million in cap space, so it'll probably be about where they're at now. The only concern is, could some of those older guys in the secondary, like Darius Slay and James Bradbury, lose a step next year? But still, should be contenders. And the 49ers, who they'll have Trey Lance back. Now, again, Garoppolo's played well this year. They're in a weird spot, certainly. But, you have Trey Lance back, so you at least have that option, which you like, and they're already a contender. So, again, another team that I don't see why they would be massively different heading into next year. It's football, weird stuff happens, but they should be even a little better, and they're contenders now. So, gotta like that. And then, of course, the Bills, the final team on this list, who kind of went all in a little bit this year to try and make sure that they can try to maximize Josh Allen's rookie contract window, which I think is smart. They are 27th in projected cap space. They're negative $11 million there, so they should lose some stuff, I think. I don't think they should be as good as they are this year, next year, but I still think that even with that, they would be contenders because they're still very good. So that's my list. What do you think? Why am I wrong? Why am I stupid? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.